marked 3 years since George Floyd was killed at the hands of police in Minneapolis. His death beneath the knee of now convicted former officer Derek Chauvin ignited a nationwide social justice movement. But Floyd's uncle, Selwyn Jones, told my colleagues Anne-Marie Green and Vlad Duthier there's still a need for legislative action to prevent more murders like his nephew's.
We are pushing the Civil Rights Medical Policing Act. It's an act that would should have people that are in custody, doesn't matter what kind of custody, be able to insist upon having medical attention.
Joining us now is Damon Hewitt. He's the president and executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Damon, I want to go back in time for a minute. 3 years ago, what was your reaction when you first saw the George Floyd video 3 years ago?
Well, John, I was gutted. I was horrified, angry, and afraid, frankly. You know, it wasn't the kind of bloodshed that sadly we've become accustomed to with Michael Brown, Ferguson, and Laquan McDonald in Chicago, young black men who were shot and killed and bled out in the streets at the hands of police. But it was really the almost the callousness, the casualness of this taking of life, almost with the smirk, with the knee on the neck, that was really horrifying. And as a black man of a certain build and presence, I think I could be viewed as the same kind of threat that George Floyd was erroneously, and my life be taken as well.
And so, Damon, since that summer's marches, what has changed? And if I could split that question in two, what do you think has changed in the broader culture? And then what's changed in the law?
Sure. Well, look, my office here at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, we're around the corner from Black Lives Matter Plaza, a road that leads right up to the White House. And so what has changed is the peaceful people taking to the streets, multiracial, people from all over the world, frankly, taken to the streets, has really lifted public consciousness. And the public discourse has shifted in this country significantly. Polls show that people want police accountability. Everyone may not agree on what it should look like, but people want that accountability. And so we know that 3 years later, that discourse has shifted. But the other thing that has shifted, sadly, is police keep killing people, but they're now killing more people. Last year, police in this country killed more people than in any recorded year in history that we have. And the racial disparities certainly, sadly, continue. But one thing that has changed is President Biden has taken action, executive action, banning chokeholds and other horrible practices at the federal level for federal law enforcement agencies. But unfortunately, those policies do not require state and local agencies, the 17,000 plus state and local agencies, to follow suit. And that's where we have the gap. That's where people are being hurt and killed.
And I want to follow up on that. The banning of chokeholds is a part of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. There's also creation of a national registry for police misconduct. That couldn't get through Congress. What do you think is reasonably achievable to address police practices and increase accountability?
Well, I do think the legislation is achievable. We need the 1-2 punch of both civil and potential criminal liability for officers who wantonly violate the law. And that 1-2 punch must include either abrogation, watering down, or elimination outright of this judge-made qualified immunity doctrine, which shields police officers in some of the most heinous circumstances from being liable. And they should also be prosecuted even more. The U.S. Department of Justice deserves great credit. Under the leadership of Attorney General Garland and the Civil Rights Division, we have seen more prosecutions in these types of incidents, but legislation should be possible. I also, though, John, would like to see the federal executive order pieces, the pieces in terms of the accountability database that you mentioned, which is an important innovation, and also a registry that ensures that officers can jump from one jurisdiction to the next after violating people's rights and avoid liability and act with impunity. That can be made required, the states can be required to do that through legislation, but they can be deeply incentivized through federal money. We cannot have a gravy train of federal money going to these law enforcement agencies that are violating our rights and killing us.
Damon Hewitt, President and Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Thank you.
Thank you.